Ovila Lesperance's uncle was a big man in town, a really big man, and he's got the coat to prove it. Lesperance is the nephew of Édouard Beaupré, the Willowbunch giant. Ovila may not fit the coat, but he did use the giant's bed after he died.
That bed was no good for nobody. It took so damn much room. So Grandpa told that to Dad. He said, "You want that bed?" He said, "If you want it." He said, "Well, Dad said, okay." He said, I'll take the bed." He says, "I'll cut the railings on the side and make a 6-foot bed out of it." And that's what he done. And
that experience was just the beginning of Lesperance's association with the life and death of the Willowbunch giant. Édouard Beaupré was the first person to be born in Willowbunch. His parents were French-Canadian and Metis. A pituitary gland problem at an early age resulted in his excessive growth. At the age of 9, he was 6 feet tall, and by 12, he was 6'6". He was always willing to put his size to good use around the farm.
a little bit of milk for the calf, but sometimes the calf didn't want to follow, so Mom said the giant would grab the calf under and just carry him to the cow.
His size belied a gentle nature, especially with animals and children.
The kid had so much fun, eh? And then he'd carry a bunch of kids in his arm, and even get them on top of his head, I guess, half the time,
Just to give you an idea of Édouard's height, this is a life-size statue of the Willowbunch giant. Beaupré was 8'3" and weighed 375 pounds. He wore size 22 shoes. One of his socks would be a child's delight at Christmas time. Most of his clothes were custom made. A ring is the size of a bracelet. His size would be his legacy. It started at age 17 when a representative of the Barnum and Bailey circus came to town and saw the giant at work.
He couldn't get in the shed without hitting his head, or something. So then that guy says, we'll go around, he says, and go different places, and we'll show him around, he says. So, well, Grandpa agreed to that. They thought they'd make a few dollars, but they never made any money.
The Metis giant left his family to join the circus. He would return one day, but it would not be for another 90 years.
I remember as a young boy in Alberta, I wrote a kind of an essay on unique people, and I wrote the story of the giant. Well, I had to stay in school after because they wanted something of a real person. I said he was, and they wouldn't believe it, and I got detention for writing a story about him, but it's all coming out now.
Édouard's story reads like a tragic fairy tale, a giant whose story combines myth with misunderstanding. Beaupré traveled across the United States for several years, performing feats of strength. On Saturday, July 2nd, 1904, in St. Louis, Missouri, the giant died. Édouard's condition contributed to his death, but the story did not end there. The circus kept his body and put him on display for several years. He eventually ended up at the University of Montreal.
They had them all naked, which got nothing against that, but I didn't like to see although he was in a separate room, which but they let the people see it, So I didn't think it was right.
Ovila, angered by the disgrace, fought to bring his uncle home. It was an uphill battle. The body was even misplaced.
I said, I'm going to try and do something, try and have because they had mummified him. So he was well mummified, well kept. And it's the university that had him, and there's so many people that wanted it. Even in Paris, they had to pay any money to get that body up there. Well, it took me about 2 years. I went there several times to try and make a deal with him. So he says, why do you want him back? Well, I said, I want to give him a decent burial after all that time. Well, Yeah, but he says, supposing you'd get him, he said, and bury him, he said, hell, somebody would be right behind you and dig him out.
On July 7th, 1990, Ovala's pursuit of dignity for a giant ended. Édouard Beaupré came home to rest.
I was so glad that I had done that. Because it's the way that they had treated Grandpa. Because Grandpa never seen his son after he died. So I done that for Grandpa. Although he wasn't around, but still.
To outsiders, Édouard Beaupré is still an attraction, an oddity. His likeness still creates wonder.
The family's very proud, and a lot of people are proud of the uniqueness of this man and what he did. He virtually put Willowbunch on the map. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, you know, they're counting on him for tourism and that, and so be it. It's going to help out tourism, and it's a deal that we can work with, but it's all going to be, it's done with dignity also.
Dignity for a man of extraordinary size and history, and for a people who can say legitimately, a giant walked among them.
I think the future generation is really going to benefit from the works that we're doing now to tell the stories of the people that really were the founders of this area.